Hi guys, it's Mark again, and really following on from the video I did the other day, which was all about the soul journey and the spiritual journey and higher aspects of love, and bringing the idea of unconditional love and God into your heart and things like this from a very spiritual point of view. So again, if you haven't seen that video, I'd recommend checking it out. But in that video I really talked about the fact that there's two parts to your journey. There's the soul part and the spirit part, and keeping it really, really simple, the spiritual part, or the spirit part of the journey, is about spirit, which is unity, which is non-dualistic and pure, returning to the source, or returning to unity. And that's very much the part that you do in meditation. And the spiritual journey really centers around light and sound meditation. In other words, you need access to these higher forms of energy in order to take your spirit into these higher realms and ultimately to transcend them and to return to unity. So in a nutshell, that's the spiritual journey. But the soul part of the journey is of equal importance, and the soul, or your soul to be more specific, which sits within you, as does your spirit, is the part of you that is duality, or the higher part of you that's duality. So if you want, the spirit and your soul are the two higher aspects of your being as a human being. And then you've got the physical body and the aura and the energy vehicles and chakras and all of this stuff. So the soul journey is about taking this vehicle, this soul, which is ultimately in duality and is based on duality, and trying to take that as high as you can back towards unity. Because if you think about what duality is in its most simple forms, it's opposites, it's yin and yang, it's hot and cold, it's light and dark, it's quiet and noise, it's all these different things. And so they're all opposites, and one can't exist without the other. In other words, you can't have light without dark, you can't have hot without cold, yin without yang. And if you reconcile opposites, then you move towards unity, you move towards the source, you move towards God's state, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But the soul is fundamentally a vehicle of duality and has to explore duality to discover itself, if you like, or more importantly, to discover how it can move more towards unity. And the highest expression of unity within creation, within duality, is unconditional love. And so really what the whole point of the soul journey is, which really means what the whole point of the experience of being a human is to develop your soul to be, as much as it can, the representation of unconditional love. Now, when you say to people, okay, so the purpose of your soul journey is to become unconditionally loving, or to become loving, or to express love within duality, people understand that philosophically, but how, is the next question. Also, how do you become more loving, or more this or more that? Or they misinterpret being more loving, because quite often when you talk about love in life, people understand that in terms of relationships to others, relationships with their parents, their family, and their loved one ultimately, and their pet dogs. It has to be pointed out. So there's Blue. He has to make an appearance in every video. But how do we represent that more in terms of soul journey? So the bigger picture, which is ultimately about a journey that not just is within this lifetime, but that is over many lifetimes. Because a key differentiator between the spiritual journey and the soul journey is the soul journey is an accumulative journey over many lifetimes. Each lifetime has life lessons that are predetermined. Your whole makeup, the life that you were born into, the parents that you have, the life that you have, the choices that are given to you by the environment you're in, are all predetermined to give you this opportunity to evolve your soul. The spiritual journey is something quite different, in the sense that you start a spiritual journey and you must finish it in the same lifetime. In other words, it starts with initiation and it ends with enlightenment, having been initiated. So when we started, and I say we, when myself and other enlightened people started working much more closely with spiritual beings on higher levels, and if you've read the book Guidance for the Seeker of Truth, Channel Teachings, then you'll understand that a lot of that information was channeled from what some people would call ascended masters, or spiritual teachers, or higher beings. And over the years, myself and others have brought down a lot of information to help guide us and others, and that's why I share all of this on this website, and on the books and the articles and stuff like that, which I give away for free. And one of the key or core teachings that they gave us to help us understand the whole soul journey was the idea of, well, not the idea, but we asked them, well, how do you develop your soul? How, you know, how, and this isn't just for your soul journey, but this is how do you become more able to meditate? How do you become more able to communicate with your spiritual guide? All of these things. And it always came back down to these fundamental principles. And what they are, these virtues, if you like, are a way of codifying how do you become more unconditionally loving? How do you evolve your soul more towards God? So what are these soul virtues, or these qualities? And we refer to them as the 6 sacred virtues, or the 6 virtues. And they are humility, gratitude, respect, non-judgment, compassion, and unconditional love. So again, it's like, well, so there's some words and the mind will jump all over them and try and make sense of them. And so the purpose of this video really is to talk a little bit about, well, what do these mean and how do we put them into practice? Because what quite often happens is when I first talk to someone about these, or they read them on the website or in the articles, they intellectually get it. So they go, okay, yeah, I get it. I should be more grateful in life. I should be more humble in life, respectful. Yeah, okay, I get it. And it gets that far. It's an intellectual assimilation of the ideas and concepts, but it doesn't go much further for a lot of people in terms of becoming part of who they are. And that really is the core, because like the other videos I've done, I often talk about this, that it's not an intellectual journey. It's not about reading something and going, right, I understand that, because that's a start, but that's not the end. The goal is to actually go, okay, well, for example, if we take gratitude, yes, what does it mean to you? How can you recognize it in the life that you have now? But how can you actually become more grateful? And I think what helps people really with this is to understand that these aren't just words or concepts, and they're not necessarily just a philosophy. Gratitude, humility, respect, non-judgmentalism, compassion, unconditional love, they actually reside in you in different ways. So some of them are actually energies like humility, so you can actually become more humble by having this energy either channeled to you, or if you are initiated and you're able to, then channeling it to yourself. Similarly, some of them are not so much energies, but they're qualities of certain aspects of you. So some of them are qualities of your mind, and therefore they can be developed by consciously paying attention to them. Some of them are qualities of your heart, for example, so working in much more in developing your ability to love and be loved will develop these things. But knowing them helps, because once they're in your mind, you can become mindful of them. They can become part of your everyday life. So again, we've got humility, gratitude, respect, non-judgment, compassion, and unconditional love. And for example, with compassion, I've channeled a beautiful article that really talks about where compassion comes from, how we use compassion, how compassion interacts with other people, and how it develops us as our souls. So by all means, go to the website and go to the section on teachings, and you'll find it there. But what I really want you to do is to just explore them in a practical way. So how can we do this? Let's take one of them, respect. Okay? Each of these virtues can be understood in terms of your relationship with yourself. So do you respect yourself? And that, again, that isn't just like puffing up your chest and you know, how can I get it? Not just being intellectual about it and going, yeah, okay, I respect myself. But do you respect yourself in how you breathe? Do you respect yourself in how you move? Do you respect yourself in what you eat? Do you respect yourself in how you talk to yourself? You know, these are all aspects of respect. And let's change arms. And so that becomes more personal, okay. And then do you look at it in terms of others? So do you respect other people? Because quite often we might be able to develop these virtues or qualities for self, but we struggle with others. Or sometimes we put others first, so we respect other people more than we respect ourselves. So again, look at how you are in terms of respect to others, and others doesn't have to be an individual. So for example, if you're the kind of person up till now, I don't know, so some people might just not realise that dropping litter on the street is, in a way, not respecting their environment and not respecting other people. So waking up a little bit and going, hang on a sec, my actions are either demonstrating respect or they're not demonstrating respect. So when I do this, am I demonstrating respect to other people and their choices and their free will? Am I demonstrating respect to my environment? Am I demonstrating respect to myself? And so looking at it like that, it doesn't have to be big philosophical changes or sudden realizations. It can just be little small changes that we make in our lives that enables us to develop the quality of respect within our everyday lives, in our interactions to ourselves and our interactions to others. And now I'm going to talk about the third way that we can understand these things. But first, this little boy is busting to run over there because he spotted a squirrel. So we're just going to give him a quick run around and then we'll come back. Okay, so he's had a little bit of a run around there and chase that squirrel away. So the third way that we can develop these things is in relation to what I would say is higher things. So we've looked at relation to self, relation to others, relation to, for example, if you're religious, you say, well, relation to God. If you're not religious, if you're more spiritual, then you say relation to your higher self or to the spiritual hierarchy, if you've heard about them, or your spirit guide, or the ascended masters, Saint Germain, Kuan Yin, Buddha, all of these different characters. So the point is, it's about respect to something bigger than yourself. And this is a key thing for spiritual growth, because respect to self is about self, it's about your limits, it's about you as an individual, you as a personality. Respect to others is about your interactions as a limit with other people. Respect to something bigger is about letting go of identity of self and realizing that who you are, what you are, is a small part of something much, much bigger. When people start to realize that, in terms of not being just invested in their own identity, but realizing that they are part of something bigger, that starts to create spiritual growth in them. And again, that will have an effect in terms of generating humility and generating gratitude and all the other kind of virtues. So not one virtue is in isolation. There's a saying that humility is the key. So if you work on humility, all the others fall into place. So I guess humility is worth looking at as well. I mean, they're all worth looking at, but I don't want to go through each one in this video. I just want to kind of get the ball rolling so it's then something that you can go off and play with. But being humble is really powerful, and it shouldn't be mistaken for being subservient or self-deprecating or any of these things, because again, think about it, there's you, there's others, and then there's the bigger picture. Those are the three things that we learn to understand these virtues through. And we've got to remember, is the purpose of the virtues is to become more aligned with unconditional love, which is to become more aligned with the source, the creator, God, whatever you want to call it, because this isn't about religion, this is about truth. And that's the point. I want you to explore humility from your experiences, but having it in mind. So even now, as you're listening to this video and you're in your mind, and the nature of the mind is judgmental, engage in humility, because it shifts your whole awareness of things. Because when we're in the intellectual, what we're getting the words, we're getting the pictures. You're looking at this video, your mind can't help but judge, and that's why learning how to be non-judgmental is so powerfully empowering for the self, because you're not then putting your biases in the way of you getting the information that's actually coming towards you. The whole of life is an experience to develop, to grow, to learn. Every single moment is a choice, believe it or not. And it's not just the big choices like, should I go here or should I go there? Should I take this job? Should I stay in this relationship or leave it? They're the obvious ones. It's the small ones. It's the conversation you're having with yourself right now about this information. It's a choice, because although my words are limited and I'm doing the best I can to express something through my personality, what's behind these words is a truth that's true for everyone, and your soul knows that. But the part of the soul journey is learning to listen to your soul, and most of the time we're not. Most of the time we're listening out of habit to our mind, to our habits, to our memories because we're accessing the past, or our imagination because we're thinking about the future. So learning to work and develop your soul through these virtues is also learning to be in the moment. And it's being in the moment that you can realise, hang on a sec, I'm not being respectful, I'm not being very humble. Because what's the opposite of humility? The opposite of humility is ego. And all of these virtues, when you look at them, are the antidote to ego. Ego is self is more important than everything, and trying to maintain the limits of self. In other words, you're not wanting to change, you're not wanting to lose your identity in something bigger, and that is the opposite of spirituality. Spirituality is seeking something bigger and having, if you like, the neutrality to let go of who you think you are and all the ideas and beliefs that ultimately are limits. And so whether you're playing around with the idea of humility or gratitude or respect or non-judgment, you have to do it in the moment. And that's why just having them, I mean, I know one guy, he created a dice, and on each surface of the dice is one of these virtues, and every morning he rolls the dice. He says, right, that's the thing I'm going to pay attention to today. Of course, you don't need to go to those lengths, but just have them in the back of your mind. And the purpose of these virtues, as I said, these are the codified way of understanding how to be more unconditionally loving. And the more you work on these virtues, the more harmony there is between your spiritual journey and your soul journey. The more ease you find in meditation, because believe it or not, if you haven't developed your soul, no matter how much spiritual energy you've got access to, you'll struggle to let go and go into it, because your identity and your ego will be stronger than your ability to go into stillness. In other words, these virtues develop spirituality, they support the spiritual journey. Everything you do on a higher level, whether it's channeling, healing, channeling information, communicating with your spiritual guide, letting go into meditation, the stuff that really matters on a spiritual level is all supported by the virtues that basically help you get past your ego, get past your mind, get past the judgmental side. Because if you look at them, what's the opposite of humility? Okay, fundamentally it's ego. What's the opposite of gratitude? It's ingratitude. So someone that's not grateful doesn't value what's coming towards them. What's the opposite of respect? It's disrespectful. And if you're disrespectful to others, think about it, there's just one thing everywhere. What we're trying to do is attain enlightenment, which is that you are everything. So if you're disrespectful to someone else, you're being disrespectful to a part of yourself, so it's not spiritual. Lack of compassion, being judgmental, being conditional in how you give your love. So I encourage you just to play with these qualities, these soul virtues, if you like: humility, gratitude, respect, non-judgment, compassion, and unconditional love. And ironically, we start with humility because it is the one that will help all the others develop, and we end up with unconditional love, which is the goal. So take what you can from this. Really, the journey, as I've said in other videos, it's about what you find out for yourself. It's not about the words of another person, it's not about the experiences of another person. It always comes back to, what do you know to be absolutely true from your own experience? And that is the only thing that ultimately has value, because at some point, if you follow the spiritual journey to its conclusion, you're going to come to realise that there is only you, there is only the greater self, which is one thing everywhere, which is unity. Call it what you will. But hopefully, I know this has been a bit of a free fall of words and ideas, but hopefully something in here has resonated for you and it's helped you understand. So there's these different qualities, and they can be explored, developed in a much more deep way than just intellectually, through your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others, and your relationship with something more divine, something higher, whatever that is for you. Ultimately, it's your truth. I wish you well, and peace be with you. Lots of love.